शङ्करांश भूम शङ्करार्यपीठसद्गुरून् शुद्धसत्त्वभासुरान् सुवर्त्मनीतभूसुरान् सर्वभूतसौख्यदान् क्षमाकरान् यतीश्वरान्.
श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्. श्रीहरिं परमानन्दम् उपदेष्टारमीश्वरम् व्यापकं सर्वलोकानां कारणं तं नमाम्यहम्. अपरोक्षानुभूतिर्वै प्रोच्यते मोक्षसिद्धये सद्भिरेव प्रयत्नेन वीक्षणीया मुहुर्मुहुः. So we have come to the end of the text. So here, after having given in very great detail the Raja Yoga, which is resembling the Patanjali Yoga, but still it is having a lot of Vedantic content. After finishing that, the method of contemplating the Atman's Brahman nature and the Mithyatvam of the Jagat, and at the same time the method of looking upon the whole creation or the whole world as Brahman alone is being taught here. So in the 140th shloka, Bhavitam Tivra Vegena Yadvastu Nishayatmana Puma Saddhi Bhavet Shikram Neyam Brahmarakitavate. So here, the nature of Brahman is very deeply and with a lot of focus and contemplation. The other, the person will become come to realize he is none other than Brahman itself. That the realization and the firm affirmation also will take place. So after that, in the next shloka, 141, a further teaching on looking upon the whole creation as pure consciousness is being stated. So 141 shloka vatira.
Adrishyam bhavarupam cha sarvameva chidatmakam savadhanataya nityam swartmanam bhavayet buddha. Adrishyam, unmanifest. Bhavarupam, manifest. Cha, and sarvam, all. Eva, alone. Chidatmakam, of the nature of consciousness. Savadhanataya, carefully. Nityam, constantly. Swartmanam, oneself. Bhavayet, should meditate. Buddha, the wise.
So here, in this shloka, the manifest world and the unmanifest world, because the unmanifest is something which is not to be, which can't be seen by us, but then it has to be inferred. So everything, because that is a seed form, it cannot be left out. So it has to be included in the contemplation, and the whole creation has to be seen as Brahman. And here in the commentary, we recalled in the last class that the Tripati is being spoken of here, and the Tripati has to be seen as Brahman. The Tripati is actually the seer, the seeing, and the seen, but then they appear to be different from each other. But then here the exercise is that all of them together should be seen as pure consciousness, that is Brahman. So here said, Yadva Adrishyam is Drashtra Rupam, that is the Pramatru, that is the seer or the knower. Bhava Rupam is the word said to the shloka is Drishyam, that is the object, the observable or the observed world. And then the word Cha there denotes the act of seeing. So Darshanam. So Drashtra, Drishyam and Darshanam, all these have to be seen to be Brahman alone. So this is a very important practice, because every one of our perception in the world will involve these three, and naturally we think that all the three are different only, because the outside world, the outside object is definitely different from me, and the knowledge that I get also is different from me. But then the seer, that is the knower, is different from all this. So this kind of thing will be there. But then the Advaita doesn't allow this perception triad like this, because from the ultimate standpoint, the whole world is superimposed on Brahman. So and this tripity belongs to the world only. So it can't be, there can't be any divisions within it, and nothing can be held real in these three. Now, our tendency will be to take the knower, that is the Paramatma, to be real, and the others to be different from us and unreal, but that is also to be transcended. Even the Paramatma belongs to the world only because the knower is someone who is having the contact or connection or the wrong identification with the body-mind complex. So only with the body-mind complex he can call himself a knower. With that superimposition alone, by taking the body-mind complex as himself, only then he can become a knower. Pure Atman cannot be a knower at all. Pure Atman is not even something which sheds consciousness or light to others, because there are no others at all from the pure Atman's standpoint. So these things we had covered in the last class. So now we will move on to the next shloka, that is 142. Drishyam.
Yadrishyataam nitva brahmakarena chintaye vidvan nitya sukhe tishtedhya chidrasa purnaya. Drishyam, the manifest, he indeed. Adrishyatam, unmanifest. Nitva, merging. Brahmakarena, with the thought that everything is truth. Chintaye, should meditate. Vidwan, a wise seeker. Nitya sukhe, in eternal bliss. Tishtet, should rest. Chidrasa purnaya dhiya, with the state of absolute awareness.
So in the last class, the last shloka that we covered in more detail in the last class, a very nice input was given in the commentary. Sakalam idam aham cha brahmaiva iti sarvada pashyedityartha. So sakalam idam aham. So in that sakalam, that idam, that is the observed world, is included in the sakalam idam, that is this. Idam is translated to this, and aham is the knower, that is the Paramatma. So I the knower and this the known. So here the idea is, because the I the knower is also not the ultimate reality, because that knower is also part of the creation only, the world only. So here the contemplation is sakalam idam aham idam aham cha brahmaiva. So the knower is also Brahman and the known world is also Brahman. So actually from the teaching in the 13th chapter of the Gita, we come to the very correct conclusion that the knower part is also in the kshetram only, and the kshetrajna is pure consciousness only. So the kshetrajna, even though the word kshetrajna, there is a knower, the word is there in the word, that word knower is in the word kshetrajna, still that kshetrajna is not really a knower in this sense. So that kshetrajna is simply the witness consciousness, and that is the one which is shedding the, or which is in whose range this whole seer, seeing, seen, that activity takes place. So definitely the kshetrajna is not at all the knower at all, not the knower at all. So the knower belongs to the kshetram only, and the kshetram consists of the body-mind complex and the outside world. So the body-mind complex is the tool with which the jiva operates in the world. But then the whole thing has been taught to be a product of Prakriti, all Panchabhutas only, all inert only. And so this knower who is a combination of the reflected consciousness in the mind, in the antakaranam, and the antakaranam and the body and mind, the sense organs and all that a kind of admixture, a combination is called the knower. But then here the Vedanta wants to clearly tell us that we are really not the knowers also. So because the knower is the one who thinks he is the karta, and definitely he also thinks that he is the bhokta. So kartritva and bhoktritvam are not in the Atman. So this karta bhokta will be definitely within samsara only, and this is also being taught very clearly in the Gita, and that is also being taught here also. So in this sloka 142, drishyam hi adrishyatam nitva. So what is observed has to be now seen to be non-different from the observer. So the observed, the status observed will be now eliminated. and because the observed is now getting merged into the observer, in the sense that the observed world, which is actually the Panchabhutas, it is now being merged in the consciousness by giving up the name form. This is called Badhayam Samanadhikaranyam. Badha is negating. This is what exactly happens in the rope snake example. So in the rope snake analogy, the knowledge or the perception rope, the perception snake is very, very strong to the person who is under the illusion. But then when he comes to know that it is actually rope alone, what is the status of the snake here? So the Shastra very clearly shows that the status of the snake is nothing but getting merged in the substratum, that is the rope. So here the logic is the rope alone was wrongly seen to be the snake. So the status of the snake, once the knowledge of the rope has arisen, the status of the snake is to be identified with the rope alone. So the rope alone was wrongly seen as snake. So the snake, which is now which has been seen as a different entity altogether, or a real entity altogether, is not at all a real entity. It is nothing but the rope alone. So that is the idea. So here also the same thing. The observed world, which includes the body-mind complex, has to be merged in Brahman, in the sense that Badha, that is the negation of the name and form of the body-mind complex, and the name and form of the world has to be given up, and the substratum, that is the or the material cause, that is the pure consciousness, has to be highlighted. So that has to come to the forefront, whereas the name and form has to recede to the background. We cannot eliminate it physically. So this is the idea we have to follow. In the sense, we have to disregard the name and form, or cease to give restrain from giving reality to the name and form. So that is the idea. Drishyam hi adrishyatam nitva. So drishyam has become now adrishyam. Adrishyam means what? The pure consciousness, that is the Atman, that can never become the observed at all. It is always the subject. So the object has to be now seen as non-different from the subject. So the objecthood, that is the label object, has to be removed, and it has to be seen as none other than the subject itself. Drishyam hi adrishyatam nitva brahmakarena chintaye. So this drishyam has to be seen as Brahman. Brahmakarena chintayet. Vidwan nitya sukhe tishtet dhiya chidrasa purnaya. So here the knower now, who has known the Atma Tattvam or the Brahma Tattvam, has to constantly remind himself that he is none other than Brahman, and he is the pure bliss. So Vidwan nitya sukhe tishtet dhiya chidrasa purnaya. Dhiya means the mind. See, in all this, in the whole exercise, the antakaranam or the mind is the tool or the instrument. Without that, nothing can be done. But yet, even that is being done with the knowledge that the tool is really unreal, but then what is carried in the tool, that alone is real. So this kind of a thing is possible only in Jivan Mukti, that is, as long as the person is alive. So once the body falls, the antakaranam or the Sushma Shariram also gets merged in its cause, that is the Panchabhutas, and there will be no longer a person who can call himself a knower, or no other people also can point to a person and call that he is a knower. So that individuation or the individuality will be lost forever, and it is not something which is a negative thing. It is the natural occurrence in the process. So in the commentary, the Acharya says, Etadeva vivarnoti drishyamiti. Drishyam ghatadikam adrishyatam adhisthana chidrupatam nitva. So drishyam is the ghatadikam, that is the object, the world of objects, the world of people, the world of events. So all these things will have to be merged or seen as non-different from the substratum, in the sense that they do not have a reality of themselves. They are always there being experienced along with the reality of the substratum alone, or the subject's reality. So the subject's reality is what is being wrongly enjoyed by the observed, but then now the truth is known, so the observed will not have the power to delude him. So he has now taken charge of the whole thing, and so he will never gives room for the observed world to delude him any longer. So he clearly says that you are not different from me, you are me alone, none at all different from me. So drishyam katadikam adishyatam adhisthana siddhupatam nitva. So the adhishtanam is the pure consciousness, in which alone the drishyam, that is the whole world of seers, seeing and seen, is superimposed. Then he iti vidvat prasiddha. The word he in the shloka indicates that it is very, very popularly known to the Aparoksha jnanis. Brahmakarena kalpitasya parichinnasya namarupadehe nivrittipurvakam prihadakarena aparichinna rupena chintayed ityartha. This is a very beautiful tip to the aspirant. They have to take it very nicely, very seriously, and apply it in the day-to-day contemplation. Brahmakarena kalpitasya parichinnasya namarupadehe nivrittipurvakam. So the observed world is actually nothing but name and form. So it is kalpitam. It is maya kalpitam or avidya kalpitam, and it has to be now negated. Nivritti is negation. It is not destruction. So a pot, the destruction of a pot happens when it is hit with a stick, or it is smashed, or it is broken. Whereas nivritti of a pot is knowing that the pot does not have an existence apart from its material cause, clay. So seeing the pot as nothing but clay is called the nivritti of the pot, whereas the nasha of the pot is actually breaking the pot into pieces. So this nivritti is what is important here in the Vedanta sadhana. So the world cannot be destroyed by powdering it or bulldozing it or anything. It has to be only negated. That is nivritti. Nivritti alone is possible. And how is that possible? By seeing it as non-different from, or not having an existence of its own apart from the substratum, that is Brahman. So Brahmakarena kalpitasya parichinnasya, and also he is adding one nice epithet also, parichinnam. It is limited. It is finite. We might question, how can you say that the whole universe and with so many galaxies and all that is finite? Yes, from the point of view of the observer, or here the observer is Atman. So from the point of view of the Atman, this is only the idam. So aham is now Atman. Aham is no longer the body mind complex or the mind or the antakaranam. Aham is purely Atman. So from the aham point of view, the whole world is, however physically it might be spoken of as unlimited or ever expanding universe or whatever, even then it is only limited, because we have a concept called vastu parichedam. Vastu parichedam is there are two things now, that is A and B. So A is limiting B and B is limiting A. So in a scenario where there is a table and a chair is limiting the table and table is limiting the chair as objects. We should not bring in the concept of space and all that here. As mere objects, one is limiting the other. Whereas in the case of Brahman, there is nothing that can limit Brahman this wise, that is object wise, because anything other than Brahman is mithya. It doesn't have a reality at all. So the whole creation, however expansive it might be, however large it might be, with so many galaxies, and in the terms of Shastra, aneka koti brahmanda janani. So that brahmanda, aneka koti brahmanda, is actually this observed world, but still it is finite only, because this Atman is the Atman is having a higher status than that world. So it is parichinnam only. So parichinnasya namarupadehe nivritti purvakam, and namarupa also is parichinnam, because namarupa is subject to change, and it is subject to, it is not constant. It did not exist before. Before the pot was created, there was no name called pot. There was no name called name, and there is no form of a pot. So only after the pot was created, this name was given to it, and the form was was conceived. But then, in the absence of this creation of the manufacturing of a pot, there is simply clay alone. So that scenario we have to simulate here. So Namarupadehe Nivritti Purvakam. So Namarupa is Parichinna because it has got Kala Parichinnatam also. Before, that is, before the manufacturing of the pot, the Namarupa did not exist. And only after the pot came into being, Namarupa is there. And after the pot is destroyed, Namarupa ceases to be there. So Namarupa is having Kala Parichedam also. And it is definitely it has the Jesha Parichedam also. Because what is here, it does not exist anywhere else. So that Jesha Parichedam is there. And naturally Vastu Parichedam is also there. So this Trivida Paricheda Shunyam is Brahman, whereas the world is endowed with this Trivida Parichedam. So Namarupadehe Nivritti Purvakam Brihadakarena. This is also one beautiful thing. Brihadakarena Aparichinna Rupena Chintayed Ityartaha. So this line is very, very important. Brahmakarena Kalpitasya Parichinnasya Namarupadehe Nivritti Purvakam Brihadakarena. So one has to see oneself as the Brihat, because the moment, from the Vedanta point of view, from the moment you perceive the world as different, then you also become finite. So your finitude has to be overcome. So for that, the only way is to negate cease to give the reality to the world. So, or stop giving reality to the world. So that is the only way in which one can safeguard oneself from becoming finite. So one is definitely infinite. So Brihadakarena Aparichinna Rupena Chintayed Ityartaha. So now, since the observed world is no longer a reality, so the only reality is the infinite Brahman. So that is the way one has to see the world also as non-different from oneself, and which is having a mithya existence alone. So then the Brahman is the one which is coming to the fore and not the Namarupa. So that has been negated in the sense Nivritti has taken place. Tataha kim ityata ataha. So what? So that question is answered in the second line. Vidwan chidrasa purnaya chideva rasaha chidrasaha chidanandaha tena purnaya dhiya nitya sukhe avinashi sukhe vidwan tishtediti. So here chidrasam. So the rasam, the moment rasam, the word rasa is heard, the commenting Acharya recalling the Taittiriya passage, raso vaisaha rasagrhyevayam laktva anandi bhavati. So all that he is bringing here, chidrasa purnaya, for that word in the shloka, chideva rasaha, chid, that is the pure consciousness itself is the essence or rasa, chidrasaha, that's chidanandaha. So that's called chidanandaha, because raso vaisaha rasagrhyevayam laktva anandi bhavati. So a person who comes to get the direct realization of the Atman, he realizes also he is bliss itself. So purnataya dhiya chit sukhe nitya sukhe avinashi sukhe vidwan tishtediti. So nitya sukha is avinashi sukha, that is, this sukha is not born of any contact with any object or that is sabda sparsha rupa rasa gandha, but it is pure swarupa sukha itself. So naturally it is nitya. So next sloka uttira
Ebirangaihi samayukto rajayoga udakritaha kinchit pakva kashayanam hatayogena sanyutaha. Ebihi angaihi, with these steps, samayuktaha, endowed, rajayoga udakritaha, has been explained. Kinchit pakva kashayanam, for those whose worldly desires are partially subdued, hatha yogena, with hatha yoga, sanyuktaha, combined.
So this anga, that is panchadasha, that is 15 limbs were taught. That is tripanchanga ataha, that is in the shloka 100. And after that, the 15 limbs were explained. So with these 15 limbs, what has happened is Raja Yoga Udakrataha. This Raja Yoga, the Vedantic Raja Yoga has been taught. So Kinchit Pakashayanam Hatayogena Sanyutaha. So Hatha Yoga is a step which is lower. Before attaining Raja Yoga, a person has to practice Hatha Yoga. So that practice state is meant for those who are not very evolved. So Kinchit Pakvakashayanam Hatha Yogena Sayutaha. So in the commentary, the Acharya says, Idanim Uktam Swabhim Mata Yoga Upasamharati Ability. So the Vedantic yoga that has been taught is now being concluded. Kinchit Swalpam Pakwaha Dagdaha Kashayaha Ragadayaha Yesham Hatha Yogena Patanjala Uktena Prasiddhena Ashtanga Yogena Sanyutaha Ayam Vedantoktaha Yogaha iti. So this Vedantic yoga is now has to be combined with the exercises in the Hatha Yoga, which is the Ashtanga Yoga. So by those people who have not risen to a more matured status to follow just the Raja Yoga. So the Raja Yoga is there for the Uttamadhikaris, and for not so Uttamadhikaris, the Hatha Yoga element also has to be added. So that is the idea of this sloka. Ebirangaihi samayuktaha Raja Yogaha udahrataha kinchit pakvakashayanam Hatha Yogena sanyutaha. So now the Kone sloka vadivaga paripakvam
mano yesham kevaloyam cha siddhidaha gurudaivata bhaktanam sarvesham sulabho javad. Paripakvam, completely matured, purified. Manaha, mind. Yesham, those. Kevalaha, alone. I am this. Cha, and. Siddhidaha, giver of perfection. Guru Daivata Bhaktanam, for those devoted to Guru and God. Sarvesham, of all. Sulabaha, easily gained. Javad, speedily.
So he is concluding this text by giving an advice that is that can be that itself is requiring a lot of contemplation, and how a person can acquire these qualities to become a Uttamadhikari. So Paripakvam Manaha Yesham Kevalaha Ayam Cha Siddhidaha. That is the Raja Yoga alone, without the need for the Hatha Yoga of the Patanjala system. This Raja Yoga, that is the Vedantic Yoga, alone is capable of giving liberation, that is the Siddhi, for those who are of a very, very mature nature, evolved nature. Guru Daivata Bhaktanam Sarvesham Sulabaha Javad. For everyone, even if a person is not very evolved, if he is endowed with very great Guru Deva Bhakta, that is Guru Bhakti and Deva Bhakti, for such a person, all the obstacles will be very clearly, very easily, quickly cleared, and he can rise to the top. So that is the message in this sloka. So in the commentary, the Acharya gives some details also. Ayam Raja Yogaha Ekaha Kesham Yogyaha Ityakankshayam. Ayam Raja Yogaha Eva Kesham Yogyaha Ityakankshayam Sarva Granthartam Upasamharannaha Paripakvamiti. So for whom is this Raja Yoga meant? For whom is this relevant? Or for whom is this particularly fit to be followed? For that the answer is given in this sloka. Yo yesham manaha paripakvam ragadi mararahitam iti yavate. So those whose minds are very, very cultured, which very, very cultivated, very, very subtle, made very subtle, made very pure by various other practices also. So for such people, this Raja Yoga alone will be sufficient. Tesham iti adhyahara. Tesham jita arishad varganam, purushad dhurandaranam. So he says those people are the ones who have conquered the 6 forces, that is the Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Mada and Matsarya. So that kind of 6 arishad varga that has been conquered by them. In the sense, they do not allow those 6-fold force to take charge of them. So they cannot overwhelm this person. So this is the idea. Kevalaha Patanjala Abhimata Yoga Nirapekshaha. So without the requirement of this Patanjali yoga, the Ashtanga yoga, a person will be able to attain the higher, supreme, highest. Ayam Vedanta abhitaha yogaha siddhidaha pratyaka abhinna brahma aparoksha jnana dvara swaswarupa avasthana lakshana mukti pradaha. So this Raja Yoga is capable of giving siddhi. Siddhi here means liberation. And what is that liberation? It is qualified, or it is explained as, or its nature is Brahmatmaika Jnanam. So Brahmatmaika Jnanam is what the essence of, forms the essence or the heart of liberation. Because that is the cause, that is the one which results in liberation, that realization. Chakaraha avadharane. Na anyesham aparipakva manasam ityartha. For others who have not so evolved, this Raja Yoga alone, without the need for Patanjali Yoga, it will not give them siddhi. That is the idea. Nano paripakva manastvam ati durlabam iti akankszayam asyapi sadhanatvat ataha atopi antaranga sadhanam aha gurudevata bhaktanam iti. So if the question is raised that attaining the state of a very cultivated or a cultured mind or a very pure mind, that itself is difficult. For such people, this the other means is suggested. Sadhanatvat ataha atopi antaranga sadhanam aha. This Raja Yoga itself is a means, but then there is a means which is even subtler than that. That is antaranga sadhanam, which is embedded in it. And when that embedded sadhanam is practiced, a person can become fit to practice even Raja Yoga. So what is that? That is being stated here. Guru Daivata Bhaktanam iti. Javas Atishigram ityartaha. So those who are endowed with Guru Bhakti and Deva Bhakti, for them quickly the siddhi is possible. That is why even in the Jivan Mukti Viveka, which is a very profound work of Swami Vidyaranya himself, there he categorizes the aspirants into two types. One is those who have performed Saguna Dhyanam, Saguna Yoga and Saguna Sadhana and all that, and attained very great heights in that Saguna Dhyanam, of even getting the Sakshatkara of deity, of the Mishta Devatam, Devam. If such a person comes to Vedanta and practices Shravana, Manana and Nidhyasana, very quickly he will attain Atma Jnanam, and along with it he will attain Jivan Mukti also, which is characterized by Manonasha, Vasanakshayam and all that. Whereas the other category, he says, those people are nowadays, he says, but then there are aspirants who are of these days, that is of the present times, that is, he is talking about 700 years back. So present times, they do not subject themselves to this rigorous Saguna Dhyanam and all that, Saguna Upasana and all that. They come straight away to Vedanta, and it's actually a backdoor entry to Vedanta. But they also, they no doubt have a lot of sincerity and all that. They do put a lot of efforts, and then they, in Shravana, Mananyam, Nidhyasana and all that. And then finally they attain realization also. But for them, the problem of Manonasha and Vasanakshaya has not been addressed by them before. For them, this will be a problem, and they will have to do that. So that is the exercise. For that exercise, separately are given there in that book. But here he says, if somebody is naturally endowed with Guru Bhakti and Daiva Bhakti, for him the obstacles are all very minimum, and in the sense he can easily overcome those obstacles. Atayeva Gurudeva Bhaktehe Antarangatvam. So Sarveshamiti Padena. Okay. So that is why this Gurudeva Bhakti is something which is Antaranga Sadhanam, and that is the one which has to be cultivated before entering into this Raja Yoga. Tatacha Shrutihi, he is now quoting the famous passage from the Shvetashatra Upanishad. Jasya Deve Parabhaktihi Yatha Deve Tatha Gurau Tasyete Kathita Hyaktaha Prakashante Mahatmanaha. So the meaning of the Shruti is, for a person who has got very high Guru Bhakti, a very high Deva Bhakti and the same kind of Bhakti to the Guru also. For such a person, everything that is taught in this Shastra or by the Guru, very quickly it takes effort. It gets implanted in his mind and he starts getting the benefit of all that teaching. Mahatmanaha. So he is called a Mahatman. Smritayasya, he is quoting Gita passages also. Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninaha tattadarshinaha. So this shloka is there in the Gita. So Bhagavan says that you seek to know this truth by approaching the great ones who are realized souls, and they will teach you this truth, and by which you can get liberated. So tadvidhi pranipatena, and he also suggests how a person has to approach the teacher, how he has to serve the teacher. Pranipatam, that is with humility, by namaskara and seva and all that. Pariprashnena sevaya, he has included seva also. Krishna himself has included. Then another shloka from the Gita, shraddhavan lavate jnanam, jnanina satyas. So shraddhavan lavate jnanam, taspara sanyatendriyaha. A person who is endowed with lot of shraddha, that is lot of commitment to this path, to this goal, he will end up getting this knowledge. Lavate jnanam ityadyaha. Ayam bhavaha. Paripakva manasamapi dusadhyani sadhanani gurudevata bhaktanam susadhyani bhavanti iti hetoho gurudevata bhajanameva swadharma avirodhena sarvaihi karyamiti paramam mangalam. So he is now giving the nutshell of this teaching of this last shloka. Paripakva manasamapi dusadhyani sadhanani. For even those aspirants who have got a very high quality of vairagyam and all that, all the four qualities are there with them. Even for such people, whatever is not possible to be attained, that can be attained easily by those who are endowed with Gurudeva Bhakti. That is the idea. Sadhanani Gurudevata Bhaktanam Susadhyani. So what is Dusadhyam for the even Paripakva Matis? It will become Susadhyam for those who are endowed with Gurudevata Bhakti. Bhavanti iti hetoho Gurudevata Bhajanameva Swadharma Avirodhena Sarvaihi Karyamiti Paramam Mangalam. So he says that without clashing with one's Swadharma, one has to practice the Gurudevata Bhakti in very, very great order, that is in giving lot of relevance to lot of importance to it, lot of priority also to it. If such a thing is done, that will take care of all his needs. So with this, the text ends. Paripakvam mano yesham kevaloyam cha siddhidaha gurudevata bhaktanam sarvesham sulabho javat. Sriharim Paramanandam Upadeshtaramishwaram Vyapakam Sarvalokanam Karanam Tam Namamyaham Aparokṣānubhūti Protsyate Mokṣasiddhaye Sadbhireva Prayatnena Vikshaniya Muhurmuhu Shastram Sharira Mimamsa Devastu Parameshwaraha Acharya Shankaracharya Santume Janma Janmani Vidya Vinaya Sampannam Vitaragam Vivekinam Vande Vedanta Tatvajnam Vidushekara Bharatim. Om Tat Sat.